me ask you a question. If you knew there was a formula to follow for you to be successful on your health and fitness journey, would you actually follow it? Because the reality is it's not that hard. Now, granted, you might be watching this and you might be thinking it's hard because maybe you've tried things that are just not sustainable for you. You've tried cutting out your carbs, cutting out sugar, cutting out alcohol. You've had success maybe the first 5, 10, 15 pounds easily, but then eventually you hit a stall. You hit a plateau, you fall off track, you regain the weight right back. Well, guess what? Don't do the things that didn't serve you and help you in the first place, okay? Don't go back to that either. I think it was Albert Einstein that once said, the definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results. So if you're serious about getting results, better results, more sustainable results, especially on your own health and fitness journey, this episode is going to be for you. There's two things that require you to be successful on your health and fitness journey. But it boils down to one simple thing that I'm going to talk about. And trust me, it's not hard, right? The only thing that makes it hard is you thinking it needs to be hard. You thinking, right, that it needs to be challenging because maybe that's just what your belief system is. So why don't we change your belief system? Why don't we get you thinking about how losing body fat, building more muscle, having more energy, have more confidence is actually easy to do, because it is. Now, before we dive into this formula for success, I first want to give some context. Okay, I literally just came back from a run with my running coach, Brian. We did about 10 miles and I was dreading it. In fact, I did not feel like showing up at all. Like literally, have you ever had these, times where you knew you should, maybe work out, or you knew you had to go do this project, or, get this done for the family, whatever the case may be, and you're just dreading it. Like it's one of those things where in your head, you're almost wishing something would happen or wishing something would come up just to defer and distract you and take you away from the thing that you're actually supposed to be doing. That's going to be moving the needle closer to your goals. Yeah, that was today, right? I'm not a big runner. I never have been. I grew up with asthma. I have bad knees, bad ankles, bad back, right? Running also is just not fun at all. It's not enjoyable. At the beginning of the year, I was challenged by one of our members, BP, to, really embrace stepping outside your comfort zone and challenging yourself with doing the things that's hard to do. And with me, it's running, just because I think it's stupid. I mean, honestly, it's just not fun at all. It's not in my blood. It never will be, okay? And I decided to sign up for some races. I did a 10-mile race. I did 2 5Ks already this year. I did 2 half marathons this year. I have some more races coming up at the end of the year, some other events. And even though I'm doing all these things, I'm dreading it. It's not fun by any means. And today I was definitely feeling it. But I told myself, I said, hey, just show up to the park. If we can just run 1 mile with Brian, that's it, right? We at least showed up. But here's the thing. When I showed up, we got done running 10 miles. We didn't do just 1. We didn't do 2. We didn't do 3. We did 10 miles. And today's story all has everything to do with you on your own health and fitness journey and how you can be successful. 2 things. 1, is just show up. The second, make sure you have the right form of accountability. Now, I'm going to connect these two and talk about specifically how you can apply them to your own lifestyle and your own health and fitness journey for better success. But when you have these 2 things right here, you get what we'd like to say consistency. And it does not matter what you do. It does not matter which direction. It doesn't matter anything. Okay? As long as you're consistent, as long as you're showing up, you will eventually reach your goals. Now, the problem is we live in this Amazon Prime type age, right? Where we want everything tomorrow. So we think oh, hey, let's start working out, right? We'll start working out 3 times a week, start eating more protein, hitting our macros, start drinking more water, getting more steps in. And we expect to lose those 20, 30 pounds in the first 2-3 weeks. Well, newsflash, nobody got fat in a week, so don't expect to lose all your body fat in a week either. It's going to take time. Now, most people are they're just impatient, right? Plain and simple. They have no patience whatsoever. Like I said, Amazon Prime type age, right? So we give ourselves these expectations. Oh, like maybe the first, 5 pounds is very easy to lose. It's always the first 5 pounds is very easy to lose. Anybody can lose that, right? If let's say they don't work out, they haven't done that in maybe months or years, or they don't eat healthy, but they be eating like crap. The minute you change your diets, the minute you start exercising, you're instantly going to lose 5 pounds. It's the inevitable. It's the easiest thing in the world. But what happens is we then give ourselves these expectations of every single week we should be losing 5 pounds. And then when we hit this stall, or we don't know that, hey, fat loss isn't linear, right? There's actually trends to losing body fat. And if we don't know those trends, we get discouraged. And what happens when we get discouraged? One of two things. Either one, we throw in the towel and we quit. We go back to your old ways. Or two, we look for shortcuts. And maybe the shortcuts is everything that you tried doing before in the past that never served you. It wasn't sustainable. This was cutting out the sugar, cutting out the carbs, cutting out the alcohol, right? The intermittent fasting, like all these things that you hear about all the time. But yet, like the guys that's actually in shape, they don't diet. You ever think about that? Like the actual fitness guys that maybe you look up to and watch, and you study their material, like Lane Norton, right? He's a great example. He doesn't follow a diet. He hits his macros, right? Like everybody out there that knows how to lose body fat successfully, they don't diet. They focus on hitting their macros. It's that simple, right? Hey, I should be eating this many calories, focusing on this many grams of protein, carbs, and fats. If I hit these numbers, I'm going to be successful. Plain and simple. So success likes to leave clues. Follow what successful people are doing. Nobody diets, right? Only the people that are fat and out of shape and they're trying to lose weight quickly but end up regaining right back, those are the people that always diet. And if you're somebody right now that is dieting, hate to break it to you, but it's not going to work for you long term. What is going to work for you long term is having success that is going to be more sustainable for you on your health and fitness journey. Something that's more personalized for you, your body type, and your lifestyle. If you guys want more information on a personalized plan to follow, I actually have a completely free training guide that's on the first link down below in the description box if you're watching this right now on YouTube. Go check it out. It's literally going to go over the best workouts, nutrition plans to follow for your body type, your goals, your lifestyle, and obviously going over a 3-step fat loss formula for success. It's completely free. Check it out. First link in the description box down below. Now, what is needed for this success formula? Well, I already mentioned, right? One, you just got to show up, okay? And if you think about it, today with that run with Brian, I did not want to run, but I told myself, just show up. Even if it's just running 1 mile, who cares? That's better than running 0. And sometimes you guys out there, you're way too hard on yourself. You're like, oh man, New Year's resolution, I'm going to work out 7 days in a row. And what happens? It's not sustainable. You can do that for maybe a week or 2, but then eventually you fall off the wagon. And so then you're way too hard on yourself and you write it off as, oh, I'm not going to be able to do this long term. I'm not going to be successful on my health and fitness journey. It's just not in my deck of cards. It's like, no, you just picked the wrong plan to follow. You gave yourself these expectations and these goals that's not even sustainable. So for starters, just show up. But also, if you happen to fall short, give yourself grace, and don't get discouraged and all butthurt about it and throw in the towel and quit. It's like, no, brush off the dust and, start back on the next day. You're going to be perfectly fine. Because at the end of the day, remember, consistency is key. And we're going to dive into that here in a little bit. So with me running with Brian, hey, it's just show up. And that's all I did. I ran to the park. I showed up. I saw Brian there. Mentally, literally in my head, I was like, I'm just going to run 1 mile. That's it. Right? I'm exhausted. I got way too much to do today. I'm just feeling it. I'm just going to run 1 mile. Well, guess what? 1 turned into 2. 2 turned into 3, right? We're talking when we're running. We're busting each other's balls, having a great time. We're talking. And sure enough, it ends up being, over 10 miles that we end up running today. And so this leads me to the second point for success. The first one is just showing up. The second is this, accountability. You need to make sure that you have the right people in your corner. See, I promise you this. I put my life on this. If Brian was not at the park, I would not go for a run today. Plain and simple. Some of you guys that work out and you have a workout partner, you even know exactly what I'm talking about. Because you realize here, you don't want to let that other person down. You don't want to just say oh, hey, I'm going to show up, but you actually never do. No. Your integrity's there, right? You want to be a man of your word. So it's like having the right people in your corner that's holding you accountable, supporting you, that matters so much. That's the foundation. And unfortunately, most guys out there on their health and fitness journey, they're just off in la la land. Like, oh, I'm just going to try this diet. I'm going to try these workouts. I'm going to try these, supplements. But there's nobody there to actually support them, hold them accountable, help them stay on track, motivate them, encourage them, inspire them, push them. And guess what happens? Those guys that end up going the lone wolf route, they fall off track. And they have the hardest time getting right back on track because they don't have any form of support. They don't have any community. They don't have anybody holding them accountable. And like I said, those are really the two things that you need. Like, if we had to break this down in the simplest aspect, like, you could literally do the easiest things. Let's just say, like, hit your protein goal, drink plenty of water, get plenty of sleep, get some steps in, right? 4 things. We'll make it very simple, right? KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. And guess what? If you did that, you will eventually be successful at reaching your goals. Let's say your goal is to lose, 30 pounds of body fat and get off your blood pressure medications, right? I bet you anything, if you do those 4 things and you stuck with it, you will be successful. Now, the problem is, right, like, you might be thinking like, yeah, but Joe, I want to lose the 20 pounds. I want to get off my blood pressure medications in the next 2 months. Like, those 4 things, like, yeah, they're sustainable, but, guess what? Like, that might take me a year before I lose the weight. Well, guess what? That time is going to pass regardless. So it's up to you to decide, like, is what you're actually doing sustainable? Can you actually commit to it? Or are you trying to cut corners, but at what's the point? Because to me, I think it's stupid. If you lose a bunch of weight doing something that's not sustainable and then regain it right back, and year after year, it's the same old song and dance, right? Lose weight, gain weight, lose weight, gain weight. And it's yo-yo method, right? This yo-yo dieting, it doesn't work. So it's like making sure that you have the right people in your corner, holding you accountable. You're showing up each and every day. You're following a plan that's sustainable for you. That's it, right? As long as you stay consistent. Anybody that signs up for our coaching program, we'll send them over in the welcome package one of these bracelets. And it says on here, consistency is key. And that's it, right? There's so much truth to that. Consistency is key, and it's just about showing up, One thing in here that I always like to reference too, especially when I need some motivation, especially when I need some encouragement, I always turn to the Bible, right? I feel like, I think the acronym that I saw for the Bible is like basic instructions before leaving earth. And I really like that because there's so much wisdom, there's so much knowledge, there's so much truth in the Bible. But I was kind of thinking about this before I decided to, record today's podcast episode. And it's like, oh man, like, let's go to the book of wisdom in the Bible, right? And that's Proverbs, right? King Solomon, the wealthiest man to ever walk on this earth. 2 verses in Proverbs that really stuck out, all about, somebody on their own health and fitness journey, and something that we're talking about today, which is, once again, just showing up and accountability. It both comes from Proverbs. So the first one is Proverbs 10:4, which is idle hands make one poor, but diligent hands bring wealth. If you think about it, I literally just told myself, just show up. Brian's going to be at the park. We already have it planned. Just show up. Okay. If I didn't show up once again, there would be no run. There would be no a feeling good of accomplishing that task that I just didn't want to do afterwards. And you guys know what I mean, right? When you do a workout that you didn't feel like doing, but afterwards you just feel so proud about yourself. You feel so good. You feel satisfied that you actually showed up. Well, this Bible verse is just that. It's just like, hey, at the end of the day, we can't be lazy. Like, we have to make sure we have these diligent hands. We have to make sure we're showing up. We have to make sure that we're putting in the work. That's how we're going to acquire wealth, right? And in this analogy, obviously, wealth is, hey, your health, a better body, right? A better life for yourself. And then second, when it comes to accountability, it's by far one of my favorite Bible verses, Proverbs 27:17, as iron sharpens iron, one man sharpens another. So once again, like, if Brian was not there at the park, I would not be there. I would not go for a run. There would be, in fact, if I never met Brian, I probably would have never done several of these runs that I have been doing these past, year. I probably would have just done the first one, and that was it, But because I'm surrounding myself with people that is going to push me, hold me accountable, support me, encourage me, guess what? It makes me also push and strive for greatness, which is everybody needs that, honestly. They need to be goal oriented. They need to push themselves. But in order for them to do that successfully, once again, they got to make sure that they're showing up, and they got to make sure that they have the right people in their corner holding them accountable. Because when you have those two things in place, guess what? The third thing is the recipe for success: consistency. When you're showing up, you have the right people in your corner making sure that you're showing up and they're pushing you. Guess what? You're going to have a much easier time staying consistent. And if you need any help at all staying consistent on your own health and fitness journey, once again, we have a completely free training guide that you can download. It's the first link in the description box down below if you're watching this on YouTube. And speaking of, if you're watching this on YouTube, hey, don't be afraid to give this video a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below if you got any value at all. And as always, if you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, I would greatly, greatly appreciate that. Guys, this has been Coach Joe with Heartletics.com, and I'll talk to you in the next episode. Peace out, Girl Scouts.